Hello, hello. Good morning. Good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm so excited today to talk to you guys about storytelling. And if you are one of the many, many people who joined this group and said, people aren't liking your post, they're not commenting, they're not engaging, you're struggling with engagement, you're struggling with selling because nobody ever is interested, no one ever comments on your post, then this is for you because this is the sweet sauce that will make your people actually engage and listen to what you have to say. So I would love to hear from you below. Where are you from? And what is your number one product that you sell or service? So let me know in the comments below. And I'm going to get started here with my Canva presentation. All right. I may be sending you guys this through email and a replay as well. So bear with me one second. And in this workshop, we're going to really take the time to write down your story. So have a pen and paper ready so you can actually do the work while you're here because, we always say we're going to do it later and never do it, right? Am I right about that? Let me send this message out quick. Sorry, one second. Okay, so I'm pulling this up here. Now I learned, okay, so I just wanted to take his little backstory as I just went to a content creation workshop a couple weeks ago in Orlando, and it was literally the coolest thing. It was, we rented like a $2 million house. There was like 30 entrepreneurs, everyone pitched in and came to this workshop. And that's where I actually learned about this training and I thought it was just so phenomenal. So that's why I wanted to share it with you guys. So here is my Canva presentation. And this is really one of the best things you can do with your own teams if you're in network marketing is when you go through trainings is take notes and teach it back. And that's what really solidifies it and really makes this you remember it even more. So let's talk about story selling. When we start a sentence off with, oh my God, and let me tell you about this time that just starts activating the person's imagination. It starts to let your brain get rewarded knowing, oh, his story's coming in. We just automatically tune into that because we are really built to be storytellers. And, what's interesting is that when you're sharing, when you use a story to start to tell some facts about something, tie it into your product, facts are actually going to be remembered about up to 20 times more likely if they're actually part of a story versus if you're just presenting data. I actually used to be in pharmaceutical sales, and one thing that we used to do is bring in the stories of certain patients. So instead of just going through clinical data and points, we would actually come in and say, hey, this is little Johnny, maybe like a patient that you have here. He's 6 years old. He's in first grade. His teacher is always calling him out because he's jumping out of his seat. He's playing with fidgets. He's chatting with the other kids and, he's actually getting in trouble all of the time. This child might have ADHD, right? So he starts to paint this picture of like, oh yeah, I know somebody like that. And they start to connect the dots. It actually builds a connection with you, the storyteller, and the person and whoever they're thinking about. So customers out there are searching for solutions to their problems and frustrations. And they don't really care about your story, but they're always going to look at it in the lens of their own eyes and their own self. And so as a brand, it's important to define something that your customer wants, because as soon as we define something our customer wants, we post a story question in the mind of the customers. And the question is, can this brand really help me get what I want? So maybe even like the beginning where I opened in this thing, do you have engagement? Do you struggle with getting likes? Maybe you want engagements and likes. That's why you're going to take the time to watch this video. So stories that are about mistakes made. There's a terrible mistake I made. I spent $80,000 on, coaching to learn network marketing because I didn't want to just follow the directions that people shared with me about inviting. Maybe that was a mistake, a lot of money spent, and I ended up kind of eventually realizing it's all about relationships and building those things, versus trying to just create an automatic, you know, system where I don't have to actually communicate. I learned that I had to really connect with people. So mistakes made allows that listener to imagine himself or herself in that situation, and they start to think about what they would do in that situation, starts to turn on that imagination. Fantasy, you're allowing them to daydream. They say that 30% of our lives are spent daydreaming, but if you're telling a story, they kind of start to daydream inside your story, and that takes a lot of the work off of them, and they can really leave behind their worries for a moment. So they can get lost in your story. It can, inspire them in some ways. And then stories about overcoming, giving them hope and inspiration for better days. So storytelling, it builds trust. It forges connections among people, between people and ideas. Stories convey culture, history, and values that unite people. So if you're in a company, you probably hear a lot of different stories, and that's connecting you with the company and the mission. And it's actually creating deeper roots for you. When it comes to, our countries, communities, our families, everything is revolves around storytelling that links us together. And we understand intuitively the stories that we hold in common are an important part of the ties that bind. So we know that stories are connected to other things. So it might be a story about finances, but someone's connecting it to their marriage. So yeah, we have these ways of linking stories together that kind of create meaning for us. And so here are 11 elements to a powerful and compelling story. So one of them, number one, is it's going to make you emotional. So I bet you can think of a story right now that's actually going to make you feel, some emotion. Maybe it was a story of a miscarriage. Maybe it was a time in your life when you were, dropping your kids off at daycare, or having to go to work and having the daycare lady pry your child off of you. Maybe it was a story of a loss of a loved one that you didn't get to say you loved them too. So there's all these connections of a story that makes you emotional. So if you're trying to think of your story, I want you to think of these elements. Now, this story isn't going to be something that's like a 1-year story. It's usually over a span of 5 years. We're going to have all these elements. And the more of these elements you tie into your story, the better and more compelling it will be. So it's hard to talk about. You probably don't want to talk about this. It's probably something that, if you're really being authentic, when you go to talk about this, you might tear up. You might have a hard time getting the words out. That's your story. 3, it was a trying time of life. So this may have been just a really big struggle for you. Again, it's not going to be the best moment of your life, but you're going to tell the story after you're kind of through the hardest part of it. Number 4, it's about how you succeeded against all odds. Number 5, there was a huge struggle involved. So think about something you've gone through that just was a huge struggle. It didn't look good. It looked like the odds were stacked up against you, but you were overcoming it. There was a huge shift in emotion. So it was probably, you were really sad. You were down here. You were in debt. You were unhealthy. You couldn't pull your pants up, whatever it was, it could be, we can tie this into, it doesn't have to be a tragic story. It could be a story just about how frustrating it was, not being able to put on your regular clothes and making a decision if you're going to go buy a bunch of new clothes that are bigger, or, take some action on your health. It can be a lot of different things, but just feeling ashamed, embarrassed, to finally taking action and now feeling confident, excited, happy about your body again. There was a major financial payoff. So, say it's with your business, you were overweight, lost weight, shared your story, started to make some income, quit your job, then it has this major financial payoff in the end. And you may still be building this part of the story. But then there was also a major financial loss. So you had to spend some money along the way, try to fix this problem. Or maybe you're already in debt before this problem. That's what sparked the transformation. 9, it includes saving of something or someone. And 10, it involves destroying something or someone, or could be destroying an old habit, an ideal, a value that you need to change. And then 11, it involves heartbreak. So some element of heartbreak. So you don't have to have all of these in there, but the more you have in there, the better. Now, one of the most important things, the most important thing really is this hook. So when you think about a social media post, have you guys ever had a post where you thought would be really good and, it basically just fell flat? Maybe you didn't get any reaction, you didn't get any posts. This could be because of the way that you started it out. So say you had a great transformation and you share it and no one responds to it or something. If you write it differently, if you write it with a hook, then that's what's going to capture your audience, make them actually read it. So for example, when you think about this story, what was that height of emotion? And you want to start it off with, let me tell you a story about a time when when my son looked over at me and said, I love you more than money, because you were working so much and not spending any time with your kids. When you woke up strapped down, this is a real story that I heard at this event. Let me tell you about a story of a time that I woke up strapped down to a hospital bed with a hole in my stomach. You're going to want to hear the rest of that story, aren't you? Let me tell you a story about a time when I had negative $444 in my bank account and decided to quit my job. Makes you kind of curious because you're like, if you have no money, why would you quit your job, right? And this is another real story from somebody in my at that event. And so these kind of hooks pull in your audience and make them want to hear the rest of the story. So you want to open that sentence like this. So start this with your next post. And I want you guys to, I actually have a worksheet that I created with this on there. So going through there and writing out, let me tell you about a time when blank. Then your second part is going to be, what is the backstory? So that 20-second version of how you got there. So I like to use the example of this guy that, I'll just use the example of a guy that woke up with a hole in his stomach is, let me tell you about a time when I woke up strapped to a hospital bed with a hole in my stomach. See, I had been drinking too much alcohol. This was the guy's story. He had been he's basically an alcoholic. He was drinking every day. He was eating really unhealthy food, and he basically got pancreatitis and ended up in the hospital in coma for 3 months. He came out and realized that he could never drink again, or he's going to die. So when in that moment, what were you craving? What did you want? What he wanted was just to be normal again. He just wanted to feel normal again. He just wanted to go back to regular life. And then what was going on internally? So you want to go through this process and write each of these things down. So what were you craving? So if it's a weight loss journey, for example, let me tell you about a time when my closet was covered in jeans and I was on the last pair trying to zip it up and not a single pair fit me. See, it had been a year of quarantine and I drank a bottle of wine every day and started eating French fries from McDonald's with my kids because we were just depressed and in survival mode, right? In that moment, what did you want? Oh, I just wanted a pair of pants to fit me and just be able to pull them up and go out and feel good about myself. What was going on internally? So what were you thinking, during this time? So what was this guy thinking? For example, with the alcohol, he's thinking, oh, why me? Why did this have to happen to me? What's wrong with me? Why do I have this behavior? So what were you thinking? Write those things down. And what was going on around you? So you're seeing friends that are able to have fun, that are able to enjoy life, and they're not overweight or they're thinner than you. Um, what was going on around you that drove your change? Describe a moment you saw this was a problem that you wanted to do something about. So you could take that with, the guy with the alcohol. It's like, in this moment, I wanted to be home. I want to keep living my life. And I know I couldn't drink anymore. So I had to figure out a new lifestyle. Or if it's for the weight loss, it's like, I either have to make a decision right now. I'm going to go and buy new clothes that are fatter than me, or I'm going that are for bigger size. Spend a bunch of money and go buy all this new wardrobe of fat clothes and make myself remind me that I feel bad about myself, or I'm going to take some serious action, start drinking water, start working out again, start eating healthy. There's the moment of decision. What was going on? Oh yeah, I already said that one. What was the game plan you decided? So maybe you reached out to some friends in the weight loss situation. Maybe you reached out to some friends and decided, hey, what have you done to lose weight? What exercise are you doing? And you start to do that with them. Or the guy with the alcohol situation, it's like, hey, I'm going to go and join, Alcohol Anonymous and start going to the gym and start, getting into a cleaner community. What were the steps, the game plan that didn't happen the way you expected? So, you had a plan, but it didn't quite work out, or maybe you had to try several different plans to get to that outcome. And what was the end result? What do you have now because of this journey that you went through? So, I basically made a worksheet that you guys can walk through to, you can print this out, take some time and go ahead and write that out. And if you guys do this assignment, I'm going to give you guys a book. Where's my book? I have it right here. Sorry, I gotta find the book. So I'm actually going to give you guys a copy of the book GoPro. So if you don't have that yet, you could choose a different book if you already have it. But I'm going to give you guys a copy of GoPro. If you guys do this assignment and turn it in, I will do a drawing for one of you guys on Friday. So I just want to give you guys an encouragement to get this done. And I hope this training was helpful today. I know that I just shared a story the other day and I kind of followed this format and I got 78 comments and like 200 likes. It's been a really long time since I had that kind of engagement. So I know that, starting off your story with this hook and using these elements does work. And, people are going to, people don't really care about what you do. They care about why you do it. So when you share your story, it's really going to tie in all of these things and help your audience to understand your heart better. And it's going to help you really feel more confident sharing as well, because you're going to be making meaning, out of your story and into people's hearts. So I hope this was helpful, guys. Please let me know what you think.